And we are back with another episode of Lour After Hours. We have quite a team here, and we'll get to know them as we go through the questions. But we have a special guest today. And when I say special, I do mean special because my wife, who has never shown an ounce of interest in this podcast, heard I had Chris Long coming on, and all of a sudden cares about this podcast. So we have Chris Long. Welcome, my man.
Well, thank you, Chris. Hey, thank you. I love... This is awesome. I love, if you can't feel confident and good about getting on a podcast with this gang, I don't know who could, man. Like, I showed up on the Zoom. I see like 7 faces. I love it. I love the energy. How are y'all doing?
Doing great.
Good, man. Yeah, we can't.
Fantastic.
Good.
Yeah. So the way this kind of works is, it's kind of almost like an around the horn passing of questions, try to get as much in as we can. And what we'll do is we're going to kick this off over here with Steve. So Steve, you had a question for Chris?
Hey, Chris, thanks for joining us. So I'm a huge Patriots fan, and even though it was just a 1 year with us, we were definitely one of my top Patriots of all time. You just seemed like such a down-to-earth dude. You were great on the field, so appreciate that year. Not the next year so much, but that year was great.
Hey, appreciate you. It was an awesome year, man. Some of my best buddies in the world I play with on that team. So
perfect. So kind of piggybacking on that, just so you play for a couple of teams over your career, if you have a favorite one, or just a favorite season, and then just kind of what was it like playing in New England and specifically under Belichick?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, I have so much respect for Bill. Like I've said this a lot, he can go around the field and coach each position with more aptitude than the position coach. And I'm not saying that like it's a knock on the position coach. That's a rarity. If you can hear that as a fan and think, wow, that's great. But like, if you played in the league, you know that a lot of head coaches are not hands-on outside of their scope of interest. Like if they're OCs, they're going to focus on offense and vice versa. So Bill's not only that way, but he also is pretty honest with me for all the flack he gets. I think sometimes we make him look like Darth Vader. And really there's a lot of coaches that skate because they're relatively charming and they're actually assholes or they're actually liars and, or they actually fake it till they make it. And no, I'm not going to name anybody. But I am saying, and I'm not saying that I had any of these coaches as head coaches, but that's the reality of the league. So I love Bill. I still have a decent relationship with him. By that, I mean, I text him once a year and he texts back, which is cool. So it was a great year, man. And as for a favorite, like, hey, listen, they were all different. It's not a cop-out. Everybody knows I probably identify most as an Eagle now. I would identify as a St. Louis Ram till the day I died, like if it weren't for the fact that they moved. And I don't have anything against them. It's part of the business. I hate that for the people of St. Louis, but we really busted our asses for 8 years and went 1-15 and 2-14 and missed the playoffs and dealt with injuries and those fans never turned their backs on us. So I love St. Louis, but because I finished in Philly and because of the historic nature of that Super Bowl for Philly, it's hard not to kind of say, hey, like when I come back to a game, it'll be in Philly. And Boston was a great part of that chapter too.
All right. Well, I'll let everybody else be a lot less serious about this, and I very much appreciate your time.
You're good, Steve. Go Pats. Do your job.
And one thing, and you can tell how excited we were to have you on. We didn't even do a proper intro for you. Obviously, Chris Long. Not that anybody coming here wouldn't know who Chris Long is. Wow. Host of Greenlight Podcast and the chrislongfoundation.org, which we can get into, and obviously you can tell us more about because I know doing great things. But I would feel bad if I made Pam wait any longer to get her questions off here. So Pam, you had some questions for Chris about Charlottesville?
I do. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Pam.
So I'm going to be a grief eater and talk about difficult things.
Yeah.
Or at least start with a difficult question. Charlottesville is changing a lot right now for the better, I think. Going back to the events that happened here in August of 2017 with the rally, moving forward, the removal of the statues this weekend.
Yeah.
Do you see Charlottesville moving in as positive a direction as I do? What do we all need to be doing to make Charlottesville a better and more inclusive place?
Well, I think number one, we need to, a lot of people have it good in Charlottesville. I've been counting myself as one of those people, but, I think we need to think about neighbors. It's just that simple, just think about who lives across town from you, and that could be access to housing, that could be services, that could be schools, that could be, so I think as long as you're doing something, we live in such a hypercritical society where like everybody pokes holes in each other's efforts. And if it's not, if you're not doing what I want you to do, it's not good enough. I think as long as everybody in Charlottesville is pulling in the same direction, it could be on a different string. I think that, if you're cognizant of the realities and some of the inequities that are not, they're certainly not limited to Charlottesville. I mean, it's America here we're talking about. But Charlottesville is part of that. And then don't think of it as a bubble. It's not a bubble. There are other people trapped in that bubble who aren't enjoying the same opportunity as you. And so if you're thinking about your neighbors, however you're giving effort to, pull in the same direction, I think you should be happy with yourself, because I think, it can be easy to get desperate and think, so like, I got to do it all, like the only way we change the community or the country is if everybody does a little. And so some people are going to do a lot, some people are going to do a little. Find something that you're passionate about. For me, I've found a few things, and pull in the same direction. And as far as the statues are concerned, man, what a nice thing to see. R.E. Lee backwards on a flatbed retreating out of Charlottesville. I loved it. I said on my podcast, if you have a problem with, we can disagree on a lot of the minutia, the nuance in when it comes to politics, because it is a messy scene. But when it comes to something like removing Confederate statues, like if you have a problem with that, I said on my pod, like find a new podcast. Like we just can't, we can't be cool if you're justifying that people have to walk by that in a public place, especially when you consider the history of why they were erected. And, I had a tweet that was a little bit of a playful tweet. It was like, well, how will I remember the Civil War ever happened now? And it's just so funny to me that people, I know they don't believe that those statues are up because of history. Well, they are, but they're not the way you guys seem to mean justifying them being up. They're up because people were reinforcing these insidious ideologies during Jim Crow. So don't hit me with the, hey, if we don't, if you wanted to make an educational warning for the people of the future, you wouldn't put Robert E. Lee on a horse. You would have statues all over the city reminding people of how this country was aided by slave labor, was built by slave labor, that we fought a war over slave labor, that we struggled and floundered to reinforce a lot of those ideologies for even now, almost 150 years later. So we'd have statues left and right. And I don't think people want to get into that. I don't think people want to get into that whole thing, the history Olympics here. Mm-hmm. I think we remove the statues and we plant a fucking tree or something and move on, because it was an eyesore for too many people for too long. And people ask, oh yeah, man, I'm sorry that bothered you so much. Well, I didn't notice it a lot, but I'm also a white dude walking through Charlottesville. So I never stopped to read statues anyways. I'm sorry, good or bad. But if I was a black man walking through Charlottesville and had to walk by that to get to work, it's especially considering the context of where our country is and the discussions we've been having, it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. No other country that you take seriously has shit like this.
Right. So. And those statues were placed actually strategically as well. That is a former really up and coming Black neighborhood where more influential Blacks lived at the time. Those statues were put there to let them know they were not welcome in Charlottesville. Right.
And then you poll tax them out, mm-hmm. And so I just think and here's the thing, you talk about a backfire if you're trying to reinforce that this country is squeaky clean. And I'm not somebody who's down with America, we're the only bad place in the world. I think the world sucks and we're part of it. I think, and that's the way I look at it. And we're not exceptional in the ways that we think we are, but we have an opportunity to be. I'm an optimist as far as the future is concerned. But if we want to go down this road, as far as we got to know, we need our country's history in our faces. I don't think a lot of these people would be down for some of the statues that would be being erected if we were being historically accurate.
Yep, I agree. Thank you so much for that. And on a lighter note.
No problem. I do transitions.
Awkward transition. I am a huge foodie. I love to eat out. I love to eat out in Charlottesville. What are your favorite places? Local places.
Yeah, I love Maya. I mean, I always tell people to
Oh,
go
yeah.
you know, because it's just good, chill Southern food. They have some of the best appetizers all the way through dessert. They got options. I love the people. Shout out to Ted, one of my favorite bartenders. So there's Maya. There's you know, places like Riverside if you want to get a burger. Mel's, which is right down the street. You know, if you want to go get a beer and a burger, you know, there's plenty of places on the mall. Fitzroy, my buddy owns Fitzroy. I just think like Charlottesville, and we saw this during the pandemic, the restaurant business was so integral to like the life and the vitality of the city. And it was tough seeing them all shut down. So there were so many good efforts to kind of lend a helping hand. I thought it was cool because, you know, it's not the most important thing. Like people's wellness is important. Like, and there was a lot of problems to deal with last year. But the restaurant business is such a key piece in Charlottesville. And so I appreciate those folks. They work really hard.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thanks for agreeing to give us your time today.
No problem.
So while we're sticking to very unique geographical locations, Chris, I believe you had a question for Chris.
I do. Chris, thanks for joining us, man. So I've got an anniversary coming up, and I know you're a man of high quality and refinement and class. So I'm thinking about going down to Myrtle Beach for the weekend. What would be your ideal Myrtle Beach weekend getaway?
Now I've got bad news for you guys. I don't know if you saw the whole Rod Carricker thing where I said that I fooled the local news and said I was going to Myrtle Beach and had timeshare and I'm getting a lot of boats. I want to be ashamed to admit this, but I've never been to Myrtle Beach.
What?
Oh, what breaking news on Lour After Hours.
Hey, listen, my favorite city, like if I'm going to be going down that way, I'm going to Savannah.
Okay.
So, you know, like I haven't been to Myrtle Beach. I have nothing against it. I'd love to go. But anytime you're going to a place like that, I think you find the bar that's closest to the water and you start there, and you start at the bar that's closest to the water with the least, with the cheapest beer, and, you know, the bartender that knows everybody. And you ask that person, like people spend hours on the internet, on Reddit and on Quora and on all this bullshit. I get it. But like, go ask somebody that's living it every day. I would go straight to the bar closest to the water, that plays like Jimmy Buffett and shit like that, and ask him what to do.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, I'm ashamed that you've never been to Myrtle Beach. I'm just about an hour north of it. So,
really?
you know, it's a nice little getaway. I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina. So
I've been to Wilmington. I like Wilmington.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well, if you ever need advice, you know, on where to go or anything, let me know.
My buddy hangs out at a place called the Poor House. He's got a bunch of tattooed friends. They're all tattooed.
Hell yeah, we're all tattooed. We've all, yeah, we're all bearded and bald headed and tattooed.
Tatted spot. Yeah, exactly.
Hell yeah. All right, Chris. Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Hey, no problem, man.
Thanks.
I love that Chris shamed him twice. One, by never going to Myrtle Beach, and two, by calling out Reddit to somebody that moderates a Reddit page.
No, I'm on Reddit all the time.
No.
I'm on Reddit all the time. In fact, one of my best friends in the media started as a Reddit moderator, and that's Mina Kimes.
I did not know Mina was a moderator. No wonder her and Mark from Reddit are so good friends.
I don't want to fumble over a Reddit
terminology.
I'm like a noob where I'll look it up and they'll have to ask me to go into the app and I have to switch over, and like I can't keep my shit together. But she definitely ran a Seahawks page. So I love Reddit. I'm kind of the last 5 years a lot more into Reddit. But as far as like getting the local fare, I go straight to the people.
Yep. Mina Kimes, friend of the show. So speaking of food that Pam had asked, Pal, and recent tweets that you made, Pal saw one of your recent tweets and he had a follow-up question to it. So Pal, what'd you have there?
Hello, Chris.
Hey,
very nice to meet you. Just want to say you're very handsome.
I
feel like I need to get that out of the way.
Thanks.
No problem. Game respect game, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you, bro. Yeah. Other than that hat, bro, you got the same aura going on.
You know what? I'm no longer a fan. It's just football player, so I wanted to get into the mode.
I love it. Look at that leather helmet.
Thank you. Thank you. So normally I'm the competition guy and I like to ask competition questions, but I came across a tweet when I was doing my research on you, sir, and you said you're a cereal man
Yeah.
at all PMs. And I myself in the same way. I normally don't eat anything in the morning, but I'll have a good 3 to 4 bowls of cereal.
Oh, yeah.
Cheerios, General Mills, if you're out there, the apple cinnamon Cheerios are just my absolute favorite. Huge fan of that. So I want to know, some of your favorite cereals, please.
Oh man, like I have so many, and there are special occasion cereals like Frosted Flakes that are just loaded with sugar. I used to eat them before football games because I figured that's when I was going to burn the sugar off. Like that was the only time in my 30s that I could feel good about it, was like right before I ran out in the tunnel. So I would just eat Frosted Flakes dry at like 12:05 p.m. before 1 p.m. At night, the thing I think about Frosted Flakes or any of these, or even some of these healthier cereals, which all have sugar in them. Like if you actually look, like even the Kind stuff, which I eat the apple cinnamon one. The thing about it is when you're a kid, people explain to you that a breakfast is just so healthy, right? It's so important to eat breakfast and you're just shoveling like corn pops in your mouth and Lucky Charms and you don't think it's unhealthy. I think the same thing happens as an adult when I have the munchies and I'm like, well, I already ate dinner. I shouldn't have dessert, but how about a bowl of Lucky Charms with almond milk? You know what I mean?
My man, I'm an almond milk guy myself.
Me
yes.
too. Me too. Which one?
Sometimes I like to go to Aldi to get, the Aldi brand because it's a little bit cheaper. But I go the 60-calorie one. I get a little bit of the sugar in it, the sweetened kind.
I like the almond. I like almond breeze. I think Silk is a little bit like papery, but I'm also really cognizant of the fact that it takes a lot of water to make almond milk, and I have a water charity, so I'm like trying to figure out ways to be more responsible. Yeah, I know. There we go. Hydrated King right there. But I would say like run down the list. I don't think there's a cereal I dislike. That's the problem. Like a short list would be the cereals I dislike. I mean, I love Apple Jacks. I love Rice Krispie treats. You know what I love? A bowl of uncooked oatmeal with blueberries and almond milk. That's when I'm really getting my health kick on.
Sounds
Fancy.
delicious. I'm just a big guy of like Cheerios because they've been coming out with everything lately.
Yeah.
So you got your frosted Cheerios, your cinnamon
yeah.
Cheerios, your chocolate Cheerios, your peanut butter and chocolate Cheerios, which are
Whoa! They got peanut butter and chocolate?
Oh my gosh, do they? It's a great substitute for the Reese's Pieces cereal because it tastes just the same.
Okay. No, I mean, like, I just pulled it up. I love Pops. I mentioned that. Frosted Flakes. I'm not a huge Raisin Bran guy. Sorry to say. I love Fruit Loops.
Nobody is.
I was
Yeah.
a big Fruity Pebbles guy growing up in my youth.
Fruity Pebbles.
Fruity
That
Pebbles
should be
underrated.
legal. That's an American cereal right there. I'm a big fan of Life. You
That
guys
cereal?
are all like,
Cereal
you were met with silent disagreement
Yeah,
from everybody's
Life's
face.
okay.
well, when you turn 36 and you the whole metabolism thing slows down, I don't feel guilty about eating Life, but look a little closer. There's a lot of sugar, tricks, the whole thing.
You're talking to a man who knows about a slow metabolism right here.
Okay,
You know what I
good.
mean?
Yeah, I can eat cereal any time of night. It's guiltless.
Same. I couldn't agree more.
I've never heard such great analysis on almond milk. That was key. And we obviously have to go the cheaper brand. I think Blue Wire may have a different deal with you than with us, Chris. So we're still going to all these. All right.
I don't know.
But no. So speaking, you mentioned the water and the project you have, obviously Waterboys, part of chrisfoundation.org. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? But also, like, were you able to do this last year with everything happening? I don't know what time of year you typically do it.
Yeah.
Was it able to be done? Or if not, kind of how did you work around to still try to drive in the donations?
Yeah. So last year was tough for any foundation, right? Like it just was a grind, and it kind of like made you re-examine like why you're doing it, because you're not getting the cheers. You're not like, that's not why you do it, but no one can deny that you need positive momentum when you're sitting there for hours, like trying to galvanize people to do something. You're trying to get people to raise money. You're trying to get athletes to want to leverage their platform. A year like last year, it kind of, you got to dig deep, man. And we all had to. So shout out to Nicole and Kim, who helped run my foundation. And we actually were able to grow. We kind of took the year. We couldn't go to Africa. You know, actually, the last time I was in Tanzania, I just missed COVID keeping me locked in there. I was there like beginning of March during the old pandy there. And I was in a hotel, and I always remember seeing the damn news in Italy, and it just looked apocalyptic. And I was like, man, I'm flying through Amsterdam. That's how I always get home. Like, I don't know if I'm going to get home. And I just made it by like a week. And in fact, when I got home, I kind of thought I had COVID, honestly, at that point. I had like a really dry cough, which I never get, that hung around for like 2 weeks, and I just felt tired. So maybe I just diagnosed myself with COVID right here, but like it was scary. And then it was a start to a really unnerving year in a lot of ways, but with your foundation, it's hard to raise money. People are battening down the hatches, and I get it. I also felt guilty asking people for money. You know what I mean? You know, so we tried to kind of take the opportunity to not solicit as much, and we tried to regroup and grow. And we started Water for Her with the help of my wife, Meg, who got a bunch of female influencers to come to the table to help us. Because one of the things about Waterboys is like, we call it Waterboys because it's an NFL program. Okay. Like, so you know, like that's why it's called Waterboys. I had a few people ask me that, like, so far just boys in the NFL, but like, I met Billie Jean King, and she was like, why is it called Waterboys? And I was like, well, I explained very respectfully what I just said, but she was like, you guys should have a program for girls. And I was like, awesome. Like, that'd be great. I'd love for you to head it up. And she was like, oh, we'll talk we'll talk.
What a good counter. Like, oh, good idea.
Yeah. I was like, good. Do you want to run it right now? Yeah. But like, but we've been thinking about ways to kind of highlight the women's issue that exists, really, you know, not within or under the umbrella of the clean water crisis. Like, the Venn diagram is a circle because, you know, for an East African woman, that is her life a lot of times, like gathering water, going on these dangerous treks. You know, kids are held out of school. And imagine going and taking your kids. And now as a parent, it's so easy for me to understand, like, if the thermostat is a little low in my kid's room, my wife's waking me up at 2 a.m. You think it's okay at 71? I'm like, Meg, dude, it's fine. Like, I just got back from East Africa where, you know, women are trekking 6 to 8 miles to gather brown water for their children that they know could kill their children, but it's your only chance. And so that reality is something that we have to work to eradicate. And so we started Water for Her, because if you look at studies, like, you know, I'm no sociologist or anthropologist, although I majored in sociology, but you know, the experts show you very clearly that if you empower women, if it wasn't enough to appeal to your sense of like morality, I mean, if you're some like, hey, I just care about society as a whole. Well, if women are rocking and rolling and they have the opportunities that we do, our society is a lot better, you know, because they kind of get shit done and they kind of drive the bus. And certainly we have a role in society, but to leave East African women and women all over the world out of this equation, that is like building a better society that's more productive, it's totally backwards. It's totally backwards from a standpoint of like leaving people you care about behind, but it's also backwards from a standpoint, do you want to survive? Like, and so, you know, getting women in America involved and empowered in the fight for, you know, our goal is 100,000 East African women, and we start there and move out. It's awesome. We also do domestic work with Hometown H2O. And we've been doing clean water projects now for 5 years, and we provided like 500,000 people with clean water, and our goal is 1 million. And we work a lot in East Africa. So waterboys.org, if you're listening, check it out.
Awesome, man. And I think we speak for everybody when I say I appreciate everything that you're doing, not just inside of this country, but outside. So with that, what we'll do is we'll kind of do a transition as smooth as possible to Schweitz over in Canada. Schweitz, you had a question about the Hall of Famer that is.
Yes. How you doing, Chris?
What's up, brother?
So we're around the same age. I grew up in Canton, Ohio, so I've heard your father's name, you know, yeah, long before his TV career took off.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to ask, once he retired from football and started getting into more of the acting roles, the cameos, the Radio Shacks. What was that like for you? Was that just like cool to see your dad in Broken Arrow all of a sudden? Like, were you telling all your friends about that? Was that a cool transition?
It was cool, but it also sucked because it was like, all right, Dad, you're already famous, man. Like now you're gonna go do movies, and now like the kids that didn't see you play, now they have something to chant. Like, so you just give them more ammo. But also, like, I'm just busting his balls. Like, my dad busted his ass for a long time playing at a very high level, and they didn't make the money that we made, and so when he got out, I'm not saying he was poor, but he didn't have the money we have. Like, quite literally, you look at some of the money these guys were making when they were like defensive player of the year. It's insane how far that's come. Yeah. So when he got out, he had to make his money doing NFL on Fox. He had to make his money, for him, like, his wild hair led him to want to be in a movie with Christian Slater and John Travolta. Like, my wild hair makes me do something completely different, but we all have something that we want to do when we retire to stretch the limits of like who we are and what we can do. And I was really, I'm proud of him looking back because he tried something, but also he got out. Like, he tried and he was like,
yeah. So for those of y'all listening, what happened here is we had a drop off, which we will soak into after Chris leaves. Of professionalism. But Chris, you were saying about your father Howie and his acting.
Yeah, no, I was saying that like once he retired, he had to try different things, and he also knew when to get out. I mean, like, he was. I didn't think he was that bad at it, for what he was expected to be, which was like athlete on screen. And I think if he had time to grow, like in that genre, which is different than like, hey, we're not watching like Casablanca here. Like, he would have grown into a guy that could have got those roles. He just was like, hey, listen, I don't want to be away from my family for 4 to 6 weeks at a time. Like, that's ridiculous. I just retired to be home. And this thing that I thought might be a little thing turned into a thing where they want me to like survive a while and get kicked through a train by Christian Slater. So, I mean, I think he got out at the right time, and then he turned into a pitch man. And like, listen, like the Radio Shack thing was cool, but then everybody's like, hey, is your mom Terry Hatcher? And I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, I just feel like everybody knows my life. And what's worse is they think they know my life and they don't. And my dad knew that. So he tried to be, kind of pick and choose the endorsements that he did, because he was like, yeah, it reflects on my kids. One time they came to him about a Viagra ad, and he like mentioned it to me, and I was like, Dad, I will literally leave. Like, if you do Viagra, like, that's your right, but not under my roof,
Not under my roof.
But like, yeah, I think he's a visible guy, and it made things interesting at times, but I totally respect it, because now I'm doing a thing that I have to consider. Like, my kids are going to know, they're going to be able to pull up whatever podcast they want and hear what, like, I say whatever I want. So you got to be considerate in your next phase, because if I didn't have any kids, who knows what I'd be doing. But this is the niche I've chosen, and my dad chose his.
Well, we're glad you chose this one. And
so you don't know Terry Hatcher then?
I don't.
I'm just kidding. Thank you.
No, I met her. I think I met her one time, and supposedly she's like the nicest person in the world. And my dad thinks she's awesome, and she took good care of him on set and like taught him how to, because he had to act a little bit in those. You know what I mean? Like, obviously he acted very well. He acted like they were married. But my mom was like ready to stab somebody. Like, my mom was going to shank somebody, like, legitimately. So I was like, yeah, Dad, you might want to get out of those Radio Shack commercials.
Say he made the right choice. So, and speaking of Christian Slater, if you go listen to Chris's podcast a few episodes ago where he does worst NFL numbers, he'll give you a little nugget of this one time he hated Christian Slater's younger brother, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Christian Slater's younger brother. I was like pretty young on the set of Broken Arrow. I mean, I had to be 11 or 12 or something. So like, listen, at that time, we didn't have the internet. There was no Xbox Live. Like, I didn't know what a blowjob was. And this dude was just talking about a blowjob. And he was the cool, like, 14 or 15-year-old. And he was like, you know what it is? And I was like, is it like a vacuum? And everybody in the little circle of kids laughed at me. So I was like, yeah, fuck this kid. Fuck Christian Slater. It was one of the most embarrassing moments that just stuck with you from your childhood. Somebody point blank asked me what it means, and I just swung and missed.
And it happens to the best of us.
I don't know if it does.
No, you're right. It doesn't. You're absolutely right. It does not.
No,
happen.
we've all been there.
We've all been there. Where Kristen Slater's brother asked you out to the movie trailer.
We've all had one of the biggest actors of the 80s and 90s have a little brother ask you if you know what a blowjob is.
I got to have that guy on the pod and just embarrass the fuck out of him. Just ask him a bunch of questions that he doesn't know the answer to. I got to find him.
If you need people, if you need an army of people to troll him, you know where.
No, I don't want to do that.
No. All right. So it's funny that now we're speaking about that, how your father didn't make the same type of money y'all make nowadays. And then Beep, he has refused to accept all of us saying no to a scenario. So he wants to ask you the scenario and see if you would do this.
Okay.
So go ahead, Beep.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, thanks a lot for joining us. So recently on one of our episodes, I posed a question to the group. If you were given $1 million a year, tax-free in an unmarked Swiss bank account, the only caveat, though, is that once a month you get kicked in the shin at a random time, random location by a UFC fighter, Shogun Hua. You can't block it. You can't defend it. You can't retaliate. You get kicked once a month for the rest of your life, but you get $1 million a year. Do you do it?
I mean, this feels like, can I get out of it after a year?
Nope. You're locked in.
I mean, like, I want to say yes, like easily. I mean, like, it can't be worse than hitting your shin on the corner of your bed.
So here's the thing. So Shogun Hua was actually rated as one of the hardest kickers in UFC history. I think they did a sports science thing on him where he got like 2,700 foot-pounds of force out of one of his kicks. And it takes 4,100 pounds of force to actually break your femur.
So he's getting there.
He is either going to break your leg or it's going to be you're done for at least 3
Now,
years.
is he Brazilian? Is this?
Yes.
Yeah, Mauricio Rua. Is that what they're? It's if I'm looking at the right guy, he's 39 years old. He could probably still kick the shit out of my shit. Right. I was hoping he was older and there was like a loophole. I'd be like, yeah, I'll get kicked by a 60-year-old. He wasn't from the era of the people fighting in gis. Like he's like relatively recent. Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do it. I mean, like, who cares? I mean, it's going to hurt. But the best part about it is I could just be rolling my cart through Safeway, looking at chicken and a biscuit, considering what snacks I want. And I get kicked in the shin. Like, that's the best way to get kicked in the shin. I'd rather not know it's coming than know it's coming. And by the way, Beep, I don't know if they're doing a documentary about you, but your camera is like Phoenix Suns fan.
Man,
like
love it.
8K, dude.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying some new things here. We're doing some new visual medium as part of YouTube. So I'm in it, man. Yeah, man.
Look at this dude.
Look at Beep.
I don't even know Beep, but look at Beep.
That's the name of the pod. Chris Long, look at Beep.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate you.
Would you do it, Beep?
Yes, I would. $1 million bucks? Yeah. $1 million bucks.
Fuck, dude.
It's $1 million. Right,
we'll hold hands. He'll just kick the shit out of us once a month.
And you're at the end of it, you're probably going to get one of the handicap placards for your car, so you can park up front everywhere you go. I mean, there's perks. There's perks you guys aren't thinking about out there.
Yeah. Also, built-in excuses at home. I got kicked by a guy they call Shogun.
I can't take out the trash.
Exactly. Can't do anything. All right. Like, you see my leg?
We can hire a maid. Boom.
Yeah. Boom. With that $1 million.
I paid for this house.
I paid for this house by just getting beat up.
Exactly.
Kind of true. Anyway, here for yours, true.
Thanks a lot, Chris. I appreciate you.
No problem.
Beep and Chris being way manlier than, which we didn't need further evidence for Chris, but Beep, congratulations. You went up there with Chris Long as being much manlier than the rest of us who were not willing to do it from
that microphone he's got. He just block with that microphone. Yeah, motherfucker. I love that microphone, dude. I'm trying to get like Beep.
DM me. I've
Beep and Chris Long are gonna be best friends after this.
Yeah, I think I need a hat too. Look at that.
The Long Beep Show. There we go.
It's just the camera, dude. He's just he's like an angel.
Chris, did you smoke before this podcast?
Not at all.
Oh man, I love it. I thought I said some heavy energy coming off of you there.
No, my energy is just like I'm just in a
Natural.
place in my life where I feel really good.
Hell yeah. Well, I feel like I put that good attitude to like a halt just by asking that joke. So
No,
we'll
no, no,
move
no,
on.
no. I will smoke later. I will smoke later, but I was
Yeah.
gonna get through all my podcasts. I have a
Got it.
board meeting in an hour and a half, so
We'll try to
that
get
would
you
be a
out of
bad
here. We know
look.
you're
That would be a bad look.
Mayor. You had a couple things for Chris.
Hey, yeah, thanks a lot, Flem. Thanks, Chris. I love to talk about your dad. I'm a lot closer to your dad's age than I probably am to yours, but I mean, I remember his playing days and just what a phenomenal, as a young football player watching him, he was like the standard. He was like the Billy.
Yeah.
I'm sure you already know that.
He's still pretty tough, but I think this is a good time to take him. Well, 60 and all that, he's just had a shoulder replacement. Might be able to finally body slam him, I'm thinking.
Well, my dad used to say, just make sure the first punch kills me.
That's it. He's like, you better drop me with the first one. Yeah, that's like a consistent saying, I think.
Absolutely. Want to give credit to my buddy Josh Brock, who turned me on to your podcast, last year, I guess. But one of the things that I really enjoy about your program, your podcast, is the back and forth that you have with Macon. And you're typically kind of checking on him for some of his athletic prowess. I'd like to know what the most athletic thing you've ever seen Macon do.
Oh, man. That's a great question. Probably that 12-inch box jump, honestly, because, and for the people listening, we did a green light combine. Shout out to Macon. Macon is the reason why we're able to put out as much content as we do, because it helps so much to have a co-host. You guys have a great group of buddies here, you can tell, but we're trying to build that kind of thing, and it starts with us. I mean, we were high school best friends, we were super tight in high school. And it's not just Macon. It's not like we're two guys and we don't hang out with other people, but we were close. And so, to be able to start this podcast and number one, know the person next to me and trust them. But number two, know that they don't give a shit who I am or who people think I am. That's the most important part to me, because the last thing I wanted was a co-host that I had to wonder if they really liked what I was saying, or usually it's the other problem with Macon. I can't tell if he hates me or not, but that's part of being best friends. And so the banter's awesome, but we did the podcast, the combine, and he jumped the 12-inch vertical. And I got to say, I don't know how you do that. I really don't know how you physically do that at 35 years of age, at his height and weight. I have no idea. I was actually impressed that he couldn't jump higher than 12 inches. So yeah, it was his worst statistic from the combine, but that was the thing that impressed me the most. It was like, how do you do that, dude? He ran a 40 and I thought the wind was going to blow him over. It's unbelievable how this guy, but he got a 50 on the Wonderlic. We did the Wonderlic. He damn near got it perfect. He got into any college he wanted. He's brilliant. He's 3 times smarter than me. And he sells real estate like hotcakes. So God doesn't give everybody everything.
All-time favorite layup line song?
Man, I don't know. Let me check the playlist real quick. Well, we just did a Biz Marquee song the other day because Biz passed. Gosh, that's a fun thing because it's an easy way to steal 10 minutes at the front of the pod when you got nothing to talk about. You just talk about some music. I would say probably Mo City Dawn by Zero. Mo City Dawn is and you know what, that answers a question the other day, and no, I'm not going to do it on this podcast because I don't sing or rap for people, but I could probably do that front to back. We asked the other day, if you had a rap song that you had to rap along with under pressure and you wanted to impress people, not that Mo City Dawn is a really deep cut, but I know the whole thing.
Outstanding. Going to wrap you up with a good, bad, and ugly.
Oh, nice.
The good is that Tennessee waterfall that you got going. It's coming in
thanks.
very nice.
Well, it's coming in. It's hard to do it justice, but it's coming in.
Outstanding there. The bad is that, and this is the bad because I know you don't like it, but my daughter's engaged, and she's going to get married somewhere near Savannah, hopefully at some point next year. So I'd like to invite you to the wedding. Thank you for waiving the appearance fee for that.
4 figures.
So funny, dude.
And then the ugly would be, I'm the mayor of of Cartersville, Georgia, hometown of Trevor Lawrence. I would really love a shout out on your podcast
Oh,
for that. So
yeah, I would love it. You say you're the mayor?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'm talking to a mayor. It says Mayor Matt on your damn thing, dude.
Google that shit if you don't believe me.
Oh my God. Look at this. Hold on a second. I'm putting it in my notes. I got to say what's up to Zach from Walmart and Polson and Mayor Matt from Trevor Lawrenceville.
That's right.
We're gonna propose something on our pod this week for you, I think. So just Macon and I we'll be back with a proposal, but I feel like you got to do something for Trevor Lawrence. Can we try to think of maybe a statue or something? I know we said no more statues, but maybe Trevor Lawrence.
I think we can get away with Trevor.
Let's sidebar that, Chris. There's things.
Sidebar.
Yeah. Hit me up.
That's great. We got mayors. This is incredible. I'm embarrassed.
Thanks for your time, man. This is great, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Thanks for listening too.
All right. So before I give it to Lou, who does all of our wrap up, I wanted to see. So you were mentioning other friends, and so I started listening to you on the Ryan Russillo podcast.
Yeah.
So what I was going to see is how weird would it have been throughout this entire interview if I would have dropped little Rye names because I'm obsessed with him. Like when you mentioned your tweet, and I'd be like, "You and Ryan are so good at Twitter, but y'all seem to hate it." Ted's your favorite bartender. Ryan's my favorite bartender. My favorite cereal is Rye Crispy Treats. Macon or Mason, as Rye calls him. So I had a bunch of things about my obsession with Rye I wanted to do in the middle of your interview, but figured this was about you.
No, he's a good dude, man. Rye, the true measure for me of Ryan as a buddy is my kids are obsessed with Ryan. Like he has this, like, you know how some people that are kind of assholes have this like gentle touch with kids. Like all of a sudden they get around a kid and the kids just melt. And the asshole turns into this person that like is no longer dry and insufferable at times, and you're like pointing to yourself.
You're preaching. Yeah, everybody knows you're talking about me right now. So
yeah, listen, we've talked for a few minutes. Like he's the Kalahari Desert compared to you. No offense. Like, I mean, he's the driest, most miserable person at times to talk to, and the juxtaposition for me of learning from somebody who knows the game so well. I mean, the thing about his podcast is he doesn't need any help. Like he just turns it on and goes. I know for a fact, like he doesn't cut stuff. Like, and he has one producer that kind of turns the lights on. And for me, as somebody who's trying to, part of this is not being married and not having kids, so he has all day to research and that sort of thing. But like, Ryan knows sports front to back. And as a former athlete, that can be kind of unsettling when you join him on his podcast. And you're like, this guy knows sports better than me. He's better at this than me. It can be intimidating, but I also learned a great deal from him the first year. And I got a lot better through failing on his podcast, honestly, because I was all right, but I kind of sucked. And some weeks, like I just wasn't on his level. And sometimes you're trying to do too much. And like Ryan helped me a lot, just kind of shape who I am now, which is still a work in progress doing this, but I know I'm better at it than when I showed up learning from him, and I was really lucky.
Awesome. And I mean, yeah, your podcast is great as well. So just tell Ryan how good this was and to answer my DM that he's been sitting on for about a week.
Okay. I sure will.
All right.
I sure will. He's been sitting on it for a week. We both hate Twitter. Like he really, I hate it.
Well, you're great at it. Lou, let's go ahead and wrap it up.
All right, so Chris, I have one question, and then we actually have a gift for you today.
Yeah.
So if you could only eat one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be?
With no negative outcome?
Yes.
Oh, man, I was going to say mac and cheese.
That's a great answer.
But I'm going to go a different direction and say like a big vegetable, like cooked vegetables, you know, like I just have to bite the bullet and become a vegetarian, and whatever happens, we'll see how cool it is. I mean, people tell me how cool it is. We'll find out. I'll do a plate of vegetables. That's boring. I want to live a long time.
Fantastic. So whenever we have a guest on, we always like to present them with a gift. So I'm actually at the beach this week and not in my shop, but we made you a hat ahead of time. Hold on, you can't see it.
Ooh. It's a hologram. It's kind of disappears, like blends into.
Hold on, I have to change this so bad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No,
All right, we're gonna change it up. There we go. I'm changing it back.
Out of the beach.
So, and as you know, this right here, this is glow in the dark thread. So this will glow green.
Oh my god.
Yep.
I can go into dark bars.
Yep.
And just like and basically be walking advertisement. This is awesome.
Yep.
Thank you. Are you going to send it to me? This is so cool. I get a gift.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know what, actually, I think Reed actually has the other one that I did.
I have those. That's you. I was going to say,
that's me.
Okay, good. I didn't want to rain on your parade because I have one that's fucking sick and I've been wearing around the office. And I was going to say, you kind of copied the other guy.
Yeah. No, it's the same one. It's just this one is all glowing in the dark. The other one I did green with an outline.
I actually I'm looking forward to, is that black?
This is a navy cap that I had.
I like a navy or a black. So this is really good. I'm money, dude. The first money. And I was like, man, I don't want to tell you that I already have a glow in the dark green light hat that looks exactly like that.
No. So Lou finally gets his credit.
Who's the man, dude? Thank you, Lou. I appreciate you guys. That's so nice of you, man. I'll rock it on the show, dude.
You're the
the
best,
green
man.
one wasn't coming on me. So I got to shout out Mayor Matt. I got to talk about me and Macon's plan for Trevor Lawrenceville. And Mayor Matt can take it or leave it. And then I got to shout you out, Lou. Appreciate the hat.
Absolutely.
Cool, man. Well, Chris, we know you've got a lot of things going on, so we'll get you out here. We appreciate it. At the count of three, what we're going to do is our lovely timing, since we're a professional podcast, as you witnessed today. So everybody at the count of three, let's send Chris off. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, handsome. You're the best, man. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks. See y'all, dude.
Bye.
Thank you.